Well, live from Davos, Switzerland, that was U.S. President Donald Trump addressing the World Economic Forum there. Just a quick summation of what was just said. He spoke of the perfect timing now to bring jobs to the U.S., and it's the best time to invest in the United States. He stated that America is open for business and it is competitive once again. He stated that as the U.S. president, he will always put America first, but it does not mean America alone. Also, he added that we support free trade, but it needs to be fair and must be reciprocated, and the U.S. will not turn a blind eye to unfair trade practices. We're now going to bring in Mr. Jason Unruhe, who's a political commentator, to offer us more insight on the U.S. President Donald Trump's Davos speech. Mr. Unruhe, welcome to the program. A wide array of issues were addressed in Donald Trump's speech, as expected. The issue of what he called fair trade, business, and prosperity in the U.S., and also on international issues and U.S. foreign policy. He spoke of historic investment in the U.S. military, denuclearizing the Korean Peninsula. He also had some comments about Iran, and also he spoke of fighting terrorism in Syria and Iraq. Walk us through the important points of these topics, if you may.
Well, I think first of all, it's very interesting that Trump would talk about wanting to promote peace in the Middle East, particularly the Middle East and the Korean Peninsula, when the United States is very much obviously the greatest cause of that tension that exists in the region. On the Korean Peninsula right now, the DPRK and South Korea are currently engaged in talks with each other that exclude the United States from attending. They're attempting to negotiate and speak. They're having a peaceful dialogue over the Olympics that will be coming very soon. And they have done this without the United States. And it's very interesting to listen to talk about fighting terrorism in the Middle East, particularly the situation in Syria, which was created by the United States. It's strange to hear him say how he's talking about fighting terrorism when it was the United States that funded the terrorist groups that ended up attacking Syria to begin with, the FSA and other groups, a lot of them affiliated with Al-Qaeda. And then once that got completely out of hand, they began sending weapons and money to the Kurdish people inside the region to try to balkanize the country as well, sending Kurdish forces into the north and the east in an attempt to capture the oil fields inside of the country, while claiming this was all about promoting Kurdish independence. It's strange how he could say that the United States is trying to promote peace, where everywhere in the world that they go, they seem to be causing more problems.
Also, on domestic issues, he mentioned the issue of the United States in need of a new immigration policy. Of course, he's maybe trying to deflect some of the heat that he's been receiving for the issue of DACA and the Dreamers in the U.S.
Oh, yeah, I thought it was very interesting that this didn't really have much to do with the World Economic Forum. This doesn't relate much to what the actual gathering is about. It's almost as though Trump was actually just taking the opportunity to try to defend himself a bit on this issue at a forum where it's not really the topic at hand, but rather just bringing it up because he wants to. This is almost a kind of a victory for him, considering that he got the Democrats to side with him on the issue in order to end the government shutdown. But it's still very unpopular with the American people. But still took the time to mention this, as I said, in a manner to try to defend himself, as though somehow this will help the economic world. I don't see it taking hardworking people out of the U.S. who are doing the menial jobs, who are doing some of the worst jobs in the country, and sending them back into their home countries, leaving those spots open and that work undone. California is starting to come to a crisis point for farmhands for collecting vegetables and doing general field work. Those jobs are now being left unfilled as a result of his policies.
And one last question, Mr. Unruhe, before we leave you on the issue of Iran. The U.S. President, well, not just in this forum, but in the gist of all of his statements regarding the Islamic Republic, he says that we must block Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. Well, what about the JCPOA, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action? That was a international treaty ratified by the United Nations Security Council, stating the obvious that Iran is not seeking nuclear weapons. However, at every turn, the U.S. President Donald Trump is trying to undermine the JCPOA, and he's trying to renege on the United States' promises.
Oh, that's definitely something that is very much going on. It has been certified again and again that Iran has lived up to the agreement. They have not been attempting to create nuclear weapons. They have not been trying to refine uranium to the point where it could be used at a weapons grade level. Yet Donald Trump seems to be absolutely insistent upon creating this kind of image in the public that Iran has violated the agreement, when frankly no one believes him. The international community has certified again and again that Iran has lived up to their end of the agreement. It's very much a case where it looks like Donald Trump is trying to sabotage the entire agreement in order to, say, justify creating a new one that would have increasingly harsher sanctions on Iran to place more pressure on Iran. I think it speaks very much about the nature of, so-called negotiations with the United States. If you do negotiate with them and work out a deal, they're just going to renege on the deal anyway. So it really places a lot of countries in a bad situation where, in a manner of speaking, to use a phrase, they're damned if they do and they damned if they don't. But it has been a real hallmark of this administration under Trump that they want to portray the JCPOA agreement as something that's outdated or possibly a bad deal or something that Iran has been violating. It seems like they're looking for any excuse possible to try to scrap it.
Well, thank you very much. Joining us from Niagara Falls, that was political commentator Jason Unruhe.